Okay. Hey everybody, Vaughn Scow here. I want to do a little informative video here on this, the Hammond SoloVoX Organ system. When I first got this, I couldn't find a whole bunch on the web about it, and so I want to put some stuff out there to sort of add to the body of knowledge on these things. These were manufactured from about 1940 until about 1950, give or take a year or two. Some people say as late as 1952 they were still making them. Certainly as late as 1952 there were still dealers that were selling them. I think 49 or 50 though was officially the last year of production on them. Mine, there's a little nameplate here, and there's also a nameplate on the bottom of the keyboard. Mine is a K model, which is one of the earlier models, probably from about 1942. Okay? And what this system was intended to be was this portable keyboard, which is actually pretty darn heavy, that has a little sliding bracket here, and this bracket would be mounted up underneath a traditional piano, for instance, and then you would have this little organ miniature keyboard under your piano, so you could play piano and hit some cool little organ licks in there. Obviously this is killer stuff for a church pianist, for instance, okay? And the tone cabinet connects to the keyboard with this like amazing cloth-covered, multi-conductor wire. I mean, this is like, Captain Nemo on the Atlantis style stuff with this big, huge multi-pin connector. I'm going to go ahead and hook that up right now here. Check out the tone cabinet. This blows me away. I've counted between the tubes on the top row, the tubes on the bottom row, and the tube in the middle. There's 18 tubes in this thing. Okay? It is awesome. There's, I believe this is a 10-inch field coil style speaker here, and I need to take it apart and look, but right here is this thing that is facing this direction. I believe this is actually, it's either a basically a subwoofer in a little sealed enclosure, or else it's a little miniature rotating speaker that does the vibrato effect. I'm not sure which it is, but I will say this: the cabinet actually gets very loud and it sounds very thick and juicy. Okay, I'm going to turn this thing around now. I'm going to tell you, these are not light either. Let's see, I better go this way. Okay. There we go. While the main speaker here is mounted facing the front, these things make a lot of volume that just goes everywhere, omnidirectionally. Okay. Hey, and I want to apologize up front for two things. One, my allergies. I'm going to be coughing and clearing my throat and stuff like that. And hey, I'm sorry. What can I do? And the second thing I'll apologize for is I'm actually just using the mics that are built in on my little flip webcam here. For simplicity's sake, I know I'm in a recording studio. I've got all these great mics. I should be hooking them up, but this isn't really about making a high-quality recording. It's just about an instructional video for what these things are. Okay. Now, to turn the whole shooting match on, underneath the keyboard there is a knee lever here, and if you heard a little click, and now the cabinet will be warming up, and from this point on the knee lever, by the way, becomes a volume control that you can actually, so little Sally Mae who's playing along with the choir or whatever can actually control her volume there with her knee. There is also, by the way, another little rotary control here that is a volume control. Oh, and there's a little trim pot here also that I have actually not played with, so I don't know exactly what that is. Underneath here there is a little name pad on it that says it's a Hammond Solovox keyboard. Got the serial number, the model, which is again that K model, Series B. You know, some important stuff that says that it's patented and all of that kind of stuff. What this is, all along here, in these beautiful, huge bakelite switches, are all of the tones of this thing. And I'm going to read them all for you kind of one by one here, okay? First one says bass, and there's one that says tenor, there's one that says contralto, one that says soprano, one that says vibrato off, which I guess means when you turn it on, then the vibrato is off. Now, why wouldn't they just have it say vibrato? But hey, okay. A button that says fast attack, a button that says mute, and then we've got deep tone, full tone, first voice, second voice, and brilliant. Kind of a little out to lunch on exactly what brilliant is. But now let's actually put this thing through some paces and see what she'll do here. I'm just going to kind of lay it down here. Okay. I've got no voices on whatsoever, and we got nothing happening. I tell you what, I'm going to go for the bass voice with the deep tone. It's like the Munsters or something, right? And again, I apologize. This thing is going to get pretty loud by the time we're done and we start adding in all of the voices, and it's probably going to distort the microphones on the little flip cam. Hey, I apologize. So that's this, by the way, is a monophonic keyboard, okay? That means one note at a time. I can go, and the next note will not play until I let my finger off the other one, okay? It is one note at a time. But not so fast there. Check this out. We can do bass, we can add tenor, contralto, soprano on top and get. And what's cool, we can also add the tones in there too, right? Oh, I'm going to put it on fast attack, by the way, so I can, you know. I also apologize. I'm a recording engineer, I'm a producer, a bit of a guitar player. I'm not a keyboard player. So all you keyboard players out there, I apologize for that as well. But you'll still get an idea of the sounds. Okay. Oh, the mute, by the way, it's interesting. When it says mute, I think they're talking almost more like what the mute would be when you put it in a trumpet. It just sort of like covers up some of the high end. Listen. See? Mute off and on. Okay. Or actually, mute off and on, off. Okay. So, and we are on deep tone right now. Here's deep tone. Here is full tone. Okay. Here is first voice. And here is what they call second voice. It's a very reedy sounding thing, you know. That's the one labeled brilliant, which to me sounds almost exactly like second voice. What's neat is we can also mix these voices, right? We can take, for instance, this reedy sound and add full tone into it and get. And now we're probably starting to distort. This is getting pretty loud. And we add deep tone in as well. And we get. That, by the way, is like rattle your fillings loud out of, whatever we counted, 18 tubes here. So that's pretty cool, right? I like deep tone, full tone, and first voice. This is like classic Hammond organ. Okay? And this is with bass, tenor, contralto, soprano. And again, we can take off, say, let's just make it, say, bass and soprano. Okay, let's just make it bass and tenor. bass, tenor, contralto, not everything except soprano. Add the soprano in it. Okay, very cool. We can turn the vibrato on or off. And again, the attack can either be fast or slow. The slow attack, of course, feels a little bit more like a pipe organ, for instance, right? I like fast attack. So there you go. There's kind of everything that it does. Very cool keyboard. I want to mention one final fact. I'll have to turn this back around again to show you. Oh my goodness. Lots of people, by the way, are calling this the world's first ever synthesizer, and it's sure, why not? I'd call it that too. I don't know if you've noticed or not, it is just as loud out the back as it is out the front, heck, maybe louder. Again, I wish I knew what this sort of weird-looking speaker-like thing was right here. Right here, there's a knob that goes to the outside of the cabinet, and it goes into this big coil. And this is like crazy 40s technology. This is like, you know, you expect to see Adolf Hitler going with this kind of technology, right? It's like a wood frame and a big coil inside it, and I couldn't figure out what that did at first, but I have figured it out now. It's for fine-tuning the pitch, right? To make sure that the pitch, I mean, all of these tubes and stuff, pitch can be all over the place, right? And you want to make sure that it's in tune with your piano, or in the modern recording world, you want to make sure it's in tune with, well, everything, right? So check this out. See, it's just a pitch fine-tune adjustment. So there you go. The Hammond SoloVox tone cabinet with the matching SoloVox keyboard. Personally, I think a very, very cool piece of vintage 40s technology. Honestly, way ahead of its time. This model still has, I believe, every single original tube in it, which is branded Kenrad, and it's cranked up right now. It's, you know, it's like rocking. It's ready to keep up with a band, and yet when I'm not pressing on a key or making any sound, it's so quiet you just barely hear any noise coming from it. So I think that is an amazing testament to the quality of the original manufacturer of these things. And again, I can't believe that until I got this one that I hadn't even heard of these things, because they are incredibly cool. And my final comment I'll mention, I am going to be selling this along with a whole bunch of guitars and amps and stuff in the near future. My wife's bought a new house. We've bought a house, and we currently have two, which, if you keep in count, that's one more house than what most people really ought to have. So you can feel free to contact me if you're interested. And if nothing else, I hope maybe for some of you others out there who, I know there's a lot of people that have gotten like just the tone cabinet or just the keyboard to one of these, and they're trying to figure out what on earth it is and what they have. Other people maybe who have gotten one of these that's kind of ragged out and not working, and they're wondering if it's worth spending some money to try and get it working or whatever. Well, now you kind of know what they are. And in a word, what they are is very cool. It is a lot of honest-to-goodness vintage tube Hammond organ sound in a very, well, okay, relatively small package. I will say this booger here is still pretty hard to haul around. Even the keyboard itself probably weighs 15, 20 pounds. So, but again, 1942, this baby was micro. I'm going to use my handy-dandy little remote to turn this off and say goodbye to you all at this time. Thank you for watching.